Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Peter. Today we're talking about hydraulic seal kits and a little bit about hydraulic cylinders and what to look out for in terms of packaging, storaging, and a little bit of how they work in the development of them. So, some of you old guys who maybe have worked on graders, a lot of the old stuff is all mechanical. So an operator would have a little lever inside the cab, and there'll be a gearbox like that. And when you pulled the lever, there were little gears inside, and it had long shafts that ran down the side of the grader, and that would be for your wheel lean or for your blades to swivel backwards and forwards. So you guys who pick parts, you might find aluminium gears. Those are for those old type graders. Then they developed hydraulic lift cylinders, and so the hydraulic systems progressed as they have over the years, and they are really quite efficient with new type piston pumps and all that drive hydraulic systems. So that's a little bit about the history. The hydraulic systems on machinery is paramount. These days, a machine like this would be driven, an excavator. The whole machine would be driven by a hydraulic pump from final drives to the cylinders that you can see up here, which make it go up and down, to a gearbox that makes it swirl around and around. So these machines are driven by hydraulics and hydraulic oil. So we'll just talk a little bit about a hydraulic cylinder and what to look out for, and you guys who use forklifts and things. So a typical hydraulic cylinder would be made up of, maybe you'll just give me a hand. So a typical hydraulic cylinder would be made up of a cylinder or barrel or tube, is what they call it. It joins up like that, and the cylinder would go in and out. All right. When you transport these things and when you dispatch them, this part here, this chrome part here, is very crucial. If that gets damaged, the seal that runs over here, the wiper seal and all the seals inside here, if there's a little hole or a little nick or it's badly rusted, the oil will seep through here and leak. Okay. So in terms of storage, the cylinder rod will always be closed. Okay, and just to protect that chrome at all costs. All right. Obviously, cylinders and that shouldn't be left outside. There'll be rust will get in there, and also through your points through here. If you get rust inside there, you're going to have a problem. Also, just be aware of the fittings that are on the tubes. They are quite easy they can easily be broken off, a forklift or something like that. Typically, the failures that we see in cylinders are either the seals go inside, and the seals are on the end of the piston or in the head. You might have a seal that collapses or gets brittle and breaks or something like that. There might be a damage on the chrome part of the cylinder, which would cause the oil to come out of there, the hydraulic fluid. Or any of those things that might fail, the bolt could come out and can cause damage inside that cylinder. So if you look inside the cylinder, it's beautifully clean. Well, this one might not be, but it's beautifully clean and shiny. And a damaged cylinder, if it's got any scoring in here, and you've got a piston that goes in and out, it's going to bypass internally, and the oil is going to seep through. Some of you who work that crane thing there, sometimes you notice it goes slowly down. That's due to an internal seal that's probably gone. Okay, so this is a grader steering cylinder that's found right in the front here of the grader. It's a little steering cylinder, and that's what actually makes the wheels turn. Okay, and that's just a swivel joint that fits on there by the wheel. So there are different. Thank you. There are different types of heads and glands and all that sort of thing. This one here is the flange that screws onto the cylinder. You can see that one's got threads. Okay, so that screws there together. There are others that are bolted up with 4 bolts. So that's that part there that bolts onto the end of the cylinder. You probably recognize this when you guys strip stuff, or pick stuff rather. And then there are earlier styles as well. I'll explain a little bit about that with the seals. We supply Bulldog. We've been supplying Bulldog Seals for many, many years. A really high quality product. They give you a catalogue like this. These days it's all on electronics, but what's really awesome is you can go to a stick cylinder on a 330C, and it'll give you a part number of exactly what. It'll give you the bore. The bore is the inside hole there, and the rod diameter is that, so you can double check that you're getting the right seal kits. It's all in here. Bulldog were way ahead of Caterpillar in its time. They made their own part numbers for kits. You'll see a lot of part numbers that start with a 504, 631, whatever it is. If it starts with a 5, that's a Bulldog number. That's because they were way ahead of Caterpillar. Caterpillar do not do seal kits, and I think probably Bulldog showed them how to do it. So Bulldog have been in seal kits for years. So just the development of some seals, I won't go into too much detail. Some of the seals that have changed, you might find that some of the earlier serial numbers had a seal that looked like that. Okay, and then it goes, the Caterpillar have changed them to, or updated the seal to 2 parts. Okay, the seal might have 2 bits to it. So if you see 2 bits in a seal, it's not 2 part numbers, it's 1 part number. Okay, so just be aware that when you pick stuff and you see a loose bit, it's supposed to be a loose bit. So the old part number might be something like that, and then the newer one might have an extra piece in it. It's just that Caterpillar, or Bulldog in this case, they've developed different materials. Obviously that white part is where it's going to rub on the chrome, so it's a high wearing part, and the rest is for sealing. So that's why they've modernized and progressed and improved seals as we go. So where you find seals, as fit as I used to be, you get a...
No Vitabricks this morning, Pete.
You get a wiper seal. That's normally the one on the end here. When you guys pick cylinders and heads, just make sure that the seal is intact and not broken like this one. Okay, obviously this is a second-hand one. So that's a wiper seal that wipes on the chrome part as the cylinder goes in and out. All right. There are other seals inside here in the head, and they all basically stop the oil from leaking out of the cylinder and holding the pressure. You get at the end of the rod now, you get a piston. There's one here, big one there, and a lot of them have these sort of fiber bands. You've probably all picked these fiber bands. They go onto the end of the piston. Right? That's really just a guiding band as it guides through the tube, the barrel, whatever you want to call it, just to make sure that as it goes in and out, it's guided properly. And then all these seals here just prevent the oil from leaking out. So a cylinder, if you can, it's a bit like when you guys are in for your vaccine, you got an injection. If you can imagine the syringe being turned around and you're putting oil through the backwards of a syringe. So fluid will come in there, and the oil at a high pressure, and it would push that piston, and that rod would go out. So that's sort of the basics of the hydraulic system and how it works. Some of the problems that we've had with cylinders from some of our suppliers, where pistons, so this is a piston on a bigger machine on a D6. They have little poppets. You can see here little poppet valves. We've had some problems with that. We now test all our cylinders. Every single cylinder, I'd say 90% of our cylinders go down to a hydraulic bay and they're pressure tested to make sure they're right. And a lot of the times we have found sometimes these pistons are not right and we replace them with a Caterpillar one. So these, how this works just briefly is when the cylinder bottoms out on the end of the cylinder, you can see those little poppets. They hit the cylinder, the base, and the hydraulic oil can bypass. So it's just a relief valve of types. Just in terms of storage, obviously we don't store seals in direct sunlight or anything like that or high temperatures. They can get brittle. I think we don't really have that problem. We move our stock quite quickly. And then the chrome, any chrome rods. We do sell chrome rods, so just be careful that you don't damage these. They don't get rusted if you're packing them in dispatch or whatever. Just make sure you put plenty protection on these chrome bits. This is the old style packing seal. Before they didn't have all these fancy wiper seals. In the old days they had packing seals. I think at one stage they were made of different materials like lambskin or something, leather. Lambskin. So these would be put in the head, and there would be little shims. As the oil starts to leak, you would tighten it up, and that would make it compress, and the oil prevent the oil from coming in. So that's a packing type seal. You guys do pick those as well. Probably 1 out of 20 that we test in our hydraulic bay testing has this type seal. So we don't do very many of them. I think that's all that I need to say today. Is there any questions? Covered everything? Cool. Thanks. Thank you.